Hello, everyone. Welcome to Everything Arsenal. Now, we need to talk about our defense. According to reports, Arsenal are looking at Konsa and Lacroix from Aston Villa and Crystal Palace, respectively. And that is a position we haven't really talked about. In terms of transfers, we're talking about, wingers. We are linked to a lot of midfielders. We are linked to attacking midfielders. We are linked to, backup strikers, backup goalkeepers, right backs. But we haven't really talked about our centre-back situation because, we feel like we're okay. Gabriel and Saliba, we have two of the best defenders in the world. And then you look at Calafiori, Hincapi, both can play as centre backs. Ben White and Timber both can play as centre backs. And then we have a Mosquera, who was absolutely incredible last season in terms of his first season. But at the moment, if the season was to start today, we would be in a little bit of trouble. I mean, we are so good, we'd probably still keep clean sheets and stuff, but we're not in a good position. Timber and Ben White have just missed the World Cup because of injuries. And obviously, Calafiori, a bit injury prone, as we know, and Saliba, unfortunately, he might have to undergo a surgery after the World Cup. We don't know how long that surgery will keep him out for, even if he'll undergo the surgery in the first place. But according to reports, it's looking very, very likely. So that will put us in a very, very difficult position because we've already moved Lewis Kelly into midfield. We're not in a great position defensively, especially in terms of numbers. In terms of quality, as I said, we still probably keep clean sheets even with Gabriel, Mosquera, and a backup left back and a backup right back. You'd still keep clean sheets. But in terms of the numbers, we cannot take any risks. So we want to go for the Champions League next season. We're trying to retain the league next season. We want to do better in the cup competitions. We're not in a good position now. We've been linked to Konsa and Lacroix, and that is because Saliba could undergo a surgery after the World Cup. Now, we've talked about wanting a right back. We've been linked to Livramento. I'm not sure if that is the answer because of his injuries as well, but we already know that we need a right back because we're going to talk about Ben White as well, who's been linked to the move away on top of the injuries as well. So we're not in a good position, and that is a position where we cannot mess with. Our biggest strength is defense. That is the biggest strength. That is a position that has made us really, really strong. Last season, we won 8 games in the league 1-0. 8 games in the League 1-0, and at the end of the season, 2 of them were really crucial against West Ham and Burnley. So we depend a lot on our defense. That is a position we cannot, just throw away. And I'm very proud of having a good defense. I usually see people, trying to laugh at Arsenal fans like, haha, you've won 1-0. I'm like, yeah, that is good. We've kept 19 clean sheets in the league. That is absolutely fantastic. I think we conceded 27 goals on the way, and that is because of the defenders that we have. And that is a strength that we have. That is a strength that we need to, feel good about, feel happy about. We are watching teams every single week, club teams and international teams conceding 4s, 5s, and 6s. That can never be us. We went like almost 3 years without conceding 3 goals in a game. Or overall, in the last like 3.5 years, we've conceded more than 3 goals once. And if you look at away from home, we've not done that at all in the last 3 years. So that is a position where we are really, really strong at. Last season, in all competitions, we kept 32 clean sheets in 63 games. That is more than half of the games we kept a clean sheet. And if you look at the other teams, probably none has done that. Most of the teams end up conceding a lot of goals, or at least 1 goal per game. But for us, we had a spell last season where we had like 9 or 10 games without conceding a goal, which is a record like since the early 1900s. So that is a position we cannot mess with at all. So what do we do? If Saliba is going to get a surgery, what do we do? So according to Hand of Arsenal are monitoring William Saliba's condition closely. Let's see how he feels post-World Cup. It is interesting because I know Arsenal have also made checks on numerous centre-backs, including Lacroix, Konsa, and others. So we usually don't make checks out of nowhere. If you've been following our transfer windows of starters coming, and even when with Edu, even with Bata, we don't just make checks out of nowhere. Last season we didn't hear Arsenal are making checks for 3 midfielders. We're checking for centre backs. We're checking for right backs. Last season we never had anything like that because we knew we were in a good position centre back wise. We're in a good position right back wise. Whenever we make checks, that is a position we are probably looking at. And we trusted our defense. Our defense was so good. I mean, out of the 9 months last season, 4 of the months, our player of the month was a defender 4 times. So again, that's a position we cannot mess with. We have to sort it out if there's a problem. So the fact that we are looking at defenders just in case, we are doing the background work and all that before, knowing whether Saliba is going to be there or not. maybe the percentages right now are 55%. Maybe Saliba is going to miss the start of the season, and 45% maybe is going to be there, maybe it's going to recover, and it's going to be nothing to worry about. But you cannot take risks. We cannot take risks. We do not know if Ben White is going to be here next season. We don't know if he's going to recover from the injury. Hincapié is still at the World Cup playing. Gabriel is still at the World Cup playing. Saliba is still at the World Cup playing. So, how far those teams going to go. You expect Brazil to go far. You expect France to go far. We could have a scenario where Saliba is still playing in the middle of July for France, and the season will be starting 1 month after that, and he hasn't even undergone the surgery yet. So there could be a big chance that we are missing Saliba at the beginning of the season, and we have a really tired Gabriel and a really tired Hincapié there. So the only player right now that are well-rested are Calafiori and Mosquera. So again, very good defenders, but can we have them as our starting players all the way to January? Can we trust them, especially in terms of injury when it comes to Calafiori? And Mosquera is still young. He's still young, so I don't think he's in a position to play him every single day, in place of Saliba. And even if we trusted Mosquera to do that, again, he's a very good defender, but even if we trusted him to play every single day, then who is the backup to Mosquera? If Mosquera or Gabriel, one of them is out, who plays there? Because remember, in the terms of the right backs, one could move away and one has been struggling with injuries. So that is why we are looking at Konsa and Lacroix. I mean, Hand of Arsenal has not confirmed everything yet, but he said we're definitely looking at them. We've made checks on them. If we have Gabriel, Saliba, and there's no other reason to make checks on them. Saliba is staying, just signed a new contract not long ago. Same with Gabriel, so they're not going anywhere. They've both rejected Madrid. Calafiori has rejected Madrid. We've been told Hincapié rejected Madrid. All those guys are here to stay. Hincapié has just signed for Arsenal right now, so there wouldn't be any other reason to look at defenders unless we are not too sure about the start of the season and who will be there and who will not be there. So that's not the only position as well. So again, we've been looking at right back. We've been talking about right back and who we should get and who we can't, and who we shouldn't get and all that. But that is because we know the situation. We could be in a position where we don't have a starting right back at the beginning of the season. We were forced to play Mosquera as a right back in a Champions League final. That is already a problem. We were forced to play a young centre back at right back because we were missing Ben White and we were missing Timber, who came on later on, but he wasn't fit to start the game. And as we've seen, he's ended up missing the World Cup. That means, he wasn't even ready to play that Champions League final. So we are very good. All of those defenders are good, but we are short in terms of fitness, in terms of, availability. We are very, very short in that position. So Saliba, one to watch for sure. Timber, one to watch for sure. Ben White, one to watch for sure. Now, we were told... so this is what we were told at the beginning of June, that Saliba could undergo surgery after the World Cup. And Ben White, Hand of Arsenal also says multiple teams have inquired about Ben White in recent months, but his significant knee injury has slowed down any potential move. It is thought that if a suitable offer arrives, which he deems a challenge, he will leave Arsenal this summer. So again, even if Ben White was fit, he might not be here next season. That's another thing. So we already need a right back either way, whether Timber and Ben White stay, whether Ben White and Timber are fit, whether Ben White leaves, doesn't matter. We need a right back. We definitely need a new right back. If it comes to a situation where we still have Ben White in the team and Timber in the team, that's a bonus. We can use one of them as a center back and then, have the new right back with one of them. No problem. That is absolutely fine. But that is a position we cannot take risks. So I am trusting Andrea Bart and Arteta to look at that position. And if we have any problems or any, we don't want to, better, as they say, better safe than sorry. You don't want to risk it and just say, okay, Timber should be fit next season. Saliba will be okay next season. You don't want to risk that because our fixtures have already come out. We've seen that in the first 5 games, we are going to play the likes of Chelsea and the likes of Liverpool. So no taking risks. We've seen in this Premier League, you cannot afford to go even 6 points behind and be like, okay, these players will be back, will be okay. No. So very important. Now, for me, I want Rodgers to sign for us. That would be my first signing. Some of you would bring winger first. Some of you bring my midfielder first. But the moment you start hearing Saliba and Timber, they might not be there for the start of the season. That right away becomes a priority because that is our strongest position. On top of all the things I've told you about the defenders, our defenders were, nominated for player of the month in terms of the Premier League a lot of times. Calafiori, on top of that, Raya as well at the back, and players like Incapi and players like Timber. Timber was nominated as well, I think, a couple of times. So we have good defenders, but the reason why we are very strong, the reason why we've been able to win the league, the reason why we were so close to winning the Champions League is because of our defense. We don't concede goals. I think it was 9 clean sheets in the Champions League. That is crazy, considering we played, those kind of teams that we played overall in the Champions League. We are so good defensively, so we have to sort it out. So apart from Konsa, apart from Lacroix, another thing with those players, I mean, Konsa is the starter for England at the World Cup. We've seen Stones and Gehi rotating, but we haven't seen Konsa being rotated at all. He's very important in that team. Again, if you're to get him, Aston Villa are not going to sell easy, as you've seen with Watkins and Rogers. They're not going to sell their players easily. Lacroix is currently wanted by Chelsea. Looks like he could go to Chelsea, so it would take a lot of our budget as well. We've put ourselves in a good position in terms of goalkeepers and players like Declan Rice. We don't have to spend 150 million on a new midfielder because we have players like Declan Rice and Lewis Kelly. But when in terms of that centre back position, if Saliba is not ready for the start of the season, and Timber and Ben White in the bad situation, both of them are not there for the start of the season, you have to pay for defenders. Now, the good thing is, I trust Arteta and the board and the coaching team to get, good defenders even for cheap. We've seen it. Mosquera was cheap. Gabriel was cheap. Saliba was cheap. And all of these players are very, very good, Calafiori is more than 50 million. Incapi is more than 50 million. But, almost all the others, less than 50 million. Some of them less than 30. Some of them less than 20. So we do very good scouting when it comes to defenders. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a 60 million defender. But let's assume we go and get another 50 million defender, because these defenders we're talking about, Lacroix and Konsa, they're not going to be 10 million. They're going to be a lot. So if we end up getting them, how does that affect the rest of our budget? Does it mean we're not going to get a winger? Does it mean, we're going to cancel the Rogers plans and go for a winger and a defender instead? Does it mean, Lewis Kelly will be moved back to left back? Does it mean, we're going to keep Norgard as a centre back option, as a backup, because we've seen him playing 2 or 3 games licensed as a centre back? Like, it could affect a lot. And again, I keep on repeating, that is a position we cannot mess up with. We cannot mess up. That is our strongest strength in the team, and you cannot mess it up. I don't think other teams can match us up in other stuff, but 2 things they can't match us up is those defensive statistics and those corners. Again, in terms of goals, how important those defenders are. So if a couple of them are missing, we don't only suffer defensively, we also suffer attacking wise. Most of those players are absolutely fantastic. So let's see what happens with our defense. Definitely want to look at. I can't think of other names he might get. I would have said Van Hacker, but he's left for Brighton for Tottenham. That would have been an option. Tottenham have also already taken Senesi from Bournemouth as well. But again, you could get other defenders from Brighton and Bournemouth. You could look at other teams, a Newcastle, and you can look at an Aston Villa like we are. But again, it's not going to be easy. But let's see what we do with those that defensive issue, and hope Saliba gets through the World Cup, and hope that if he does undergo the surgery, if he 100% needs it, because again, you don't want him to just hold it again and keep going, and then we have a problem with him in December, and then he gets injured or something. Now, if it's a problem, we need to sort it out right now and be ready for the start of this. And right now, we still have almost 2 months to decide where we're going to be next. So let me know what you make of that. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you guys on the next one.